Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Flames. Today, we have a very special guest joining us on a more regular basis, and we're going to introduce him today with our Battle of Alberta primer right here on Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably see a familiar face, and that is Nick Zararis for everyone who is joining on audio. Nick, how are you?
I'm very excited to be here. It couldn't have picked a better time to start because we have a Battle of Alberta to get right into the swing of things.
Yes. So, one piece of business before we get to all the fun stuff. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Just so you never miss an episode. And we get to talk about all the fun things like a Battle of Alberta primer and then probably a post game wrap up. I can't even talk today. It's certainly Friday. But Nick, let's give our audience a better idea of who Nick Zararis is.
I've been doing daily sports content since I was a sophomore in college. I'm 25 years old now. I do a lot of podcast things. I do a lot of video production things. I do write on occasion. I very much have fallen into the Bill Simmons trap of I used to write because all I'm doing is podcast things now, basically. But that write about everything. I watch pretty much every sport. I've got a pretty good understanding of most of them. I come at things. I am not just a stats guy. I am not just a video guy. I like to try and put them together in a way that's able to make the numbers or the blue or the red or whatever on whatever you're looking at try and make sense. So I'm going to try and give a little bit more depth to the analysis and try and put complicated things in a way that aren't so complicated so that, you don't need a statistics degree to understand the type of stuff we're going to talk about on the show. Trust me, I had to take intro to stats in college twice. It was not easy.
Yeah,
it was not easy. So we got to be able to put it in a way that everybody can understand, no matter what your understanding of math is. But I'm very excited to be here. I've been on this flame. I've been tweeting into the void about the flame for the better part of 3 years now. So to do something productive with all of that energy and watching all of these Flames games, it's an exciting opportunity. I'm very, very much looking forward to what we're going to do with this show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on, other than being a good friend, is the fact that you make math and all the numbers easy to understand. And that is something that I feel like only you can bring to this show. So, speaking of numbers, let's throw in the alphabet with the BOA. If you're new here, that's Battle of Alberta. But what a time, like you said, to kick off this new chapter for the show. The Flames won the last. I'm pretty sure it was like 4-1 or something. No, it might have been closer than that, but it was a close game. Definitely a game everybody should have taken the over on. I feel like with any Flames game, you have to take the over. But yeah, how do you feel as, I don't want to call you an outsider, but like, how do you feel about the Battle of Alberta heading into tomorrow?
It's one of the best rivalries, if not the best rivalry in hockey. I mean, Flyers-Penguins was pretty hot there for a while, but the Flyers have very much fallen off, and the Penguins aren't really a cup contender anymore. We're getting there with some of these. The Rangers and Lightning kind of have a little something going on, but for the regional, the provincial rivalries, these are the ones that move the needle because these are the people you interact with on a daily basis. These are the people you see at work, at school, and you get into the arguments over hockey with. And the thing about these types of rivalries, the provincial and the regional based ones, is this is about validating a way of life. I was watching a documentary during the week. It's Friday now, about college football in the Southeastern Conference in the Southeast, and it's the people who root for Alabama think they're better than the people who root for Auburn just because they root for Alabama. It's the same
Yeah.
type of thing. Flames fans think they're better than Oilers fans because they root for the Flames and vice versa, which is what makes this so contentious. The only disappointing thing is that Matthew Tkachuk isn't here anymore to have him and Leon do their lovers to enemies trope going on.
Yeah, but now we have Evander Kane and Nazem Kadri who,
Yeah,
they
that's
can
beef.
pick up where
That's
they
real
left
beef.
off. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna
that's
be
real.
interesting.
Yeah, Nas has been great to start the year. I'm very, very excited to see what the Flames do. And the fun part is, we're going to talk about it a little more when we get to the actual part of the matchup. Just the Flames haven't even really hit their stride yet, and they're still playing relatively well. The defense is kind of leaky, and they're still winning most of these games comfortably. So it's a very exciting time to be doing Flames content, to be honest with you. So this is awesome.
Yeah, this is a complete 180 from where I started the show
Yes.
versus where we're at now. For those of you who don't know, I was hosting the show when Jeff Ward was an interim head coach, and then they hired him, and then they fired him at 1 o'clock in the morning in Ottawa,
I
and that
remember.
was just a very therapeutic podcast to record. I jumped right out of bed and was like, all right, you're getting a 2 a.m. drop because this is the thing we've all been waiting for. And this is going to be, I think, a great game. Obviously, prime time, hockey night in Canada. It doesn't get much better than that. And especially considering the playoff history as well. And just, I don't know, it's unfinished business for the Flames.
It's absolutely unfinished business. But again, these are two teams that both expect to make the playoffs. Regular season game only means so much. This is one of those games that the TV people, the media people like us will play up because it is exciting. This is
Oh, yeah.
fun. This is a lot more than just, another regular season game in terms of narratives. In terms of the actual game itself, there's a little bit of animosity going in both directions. These teams aren't, these guys aren't friends with each other or anything like that, but it should be a good game. The potential for chaos is high, which is usually a good indicator for how good a regular season game is going to be. Because most regular season games, it takes a little while to get into it. There's a little bit
Mhm.
of a slog of feeling out first 10 minutes of back and forth trying to get in. These teams know each other. They've got a pretty deep history. The roster turnover with Calgary makes things a little bit different, but this should be a good game. This is a good game on paper. It's probably the best game of the entire slate on Saturday from my cursory glance I was looking at. I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait to be watching this game in pajamas on the couch.
Yep, I was gonna say we will have our midnight snacks, our slippers. Like it's finally cooling back down here in upstate New York, so it's great. It's a great time to get in the hockey spirit. Um, see, I'm looking at these numbers here on the outline, and like they're numbers to me. Okay, can you break down some of these advanced stats?
Okay, so the thing I wrote down in the outline was talking about rate stats. The ones that are a fraction, that are over
Yeah.
60, you do that to make a comparison. Because I
Right.
know it's been a while for some people, but you know how you have to have the common denominator to add fractions together? It's the
Yeah.
same idea here. You need to have a comparable amount of something to compare to because not every player plays the same amount of ice time. Not every team has the same amount of ice time at 5-on-5 or 5-on-4 or 4-on-5. So by making it 5-on-5 over 60, you're having a reasonable comparison. And in the notes, I have stats about the rate the teams play at, just straight up scoring chances. Whenever you see a CF, think of it as chances for, and then CA would be chances against. That's all that is. Corsi, it's called Corsi. That's the name. That's the person who came up with the idea for the statistic. But just think of it as scoring chances. Every
Oh.
single scoring chance in that in that statistic is treated equally. Expected goals is different. That's a little more nuanced and complicated. There's another layer of math to that. But just in terms of pure rate, the Oilers play at one of the fastest paces in the league, which shouldn't surprise anybody. We've watched Connor McDavid do where he gets the star in Mario Kart and just goes through everybody. We've all seen him do that. So it makes sense that the Oilers are a tempo team. And the Flames are a volume team. They're not cheesing the expected goals the way they have in the past, but that's because you lose high-end guys like Gaudreau and Tkachuk. You're going to have to change how you approach offense, and they've opted for volume so far, where they're going to create a lot of scoring chances. They're going to look for rebounds. They're going to look for deflections, the ugly goals, the greasy ones, the ones that you have to outwork the other team for, and they have the skill sets to do that. So the Flames are somewhere closer to the middle of the pack in terms of rate, but they're still in the upper half of the league just in terms of the chances they create. That's what happened during the playoffs. And my co-host on the Rangers podcast I do keeps bringing up, well, you got to make sure you manage your goalie. You don't want to happen to Shesterkin what happened to Jacob Markstrom. And then every single time I tell him, but Andrew, the Oilers are so fast. It wasn't just that Jacob Markstrom wasn't playing well. It's that the Flames were kind of slow, and it got into a track meet up and down style series. And the Flames aren't suited to play that style of hockey. The Flames are not that type of team. And it happens. That's the thing about a 7-game series. Anything can happen. You only got to win 4 out of 7. Over the course of a long season, you want to play more the way the Flames are because it's more consistent night to night. It's dependable. You know what you're going to get. You're not reliant on people over exceeding what they're doing. They're not shooting a crazy percentage like in the high teens or something like that. So there's a lot of moving parts in understanding this type of analysis. And the biggest thing, and I'm going to say this till at least January, we don't have enough data yet to really judge anything. That you need at least a 20 to 40 game. 20 is when the numbers start to stabilize. Like most of the statistic websites won't have stats beyond until you get to that 20 game mark. Then you can start to make conclusions. It's very early. Like right now, the Buffalo Sabres look like a very good hockey team.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot. I don't know, I feel like every October, the Sabres kind of go on this like thing that they're doing. I don't want to call it a run because
a heater. They go on a heater. It's like somebody playing blackjack at the casino. They got a few hot hands in a row. They really don't know what they're doing. They keep hitting on 17, but they keep winning games. So they're going to keep playing.
Yep, exactly. And, I think that's the thing I've been mentioning kind of all month pretty much is while these points matter, it's still too early to try to determine anything.
Yeah.
You could say that, Jacob Markstrom has had a rocky start to the season, but when you look at other overall numbers, it's except for last October, because that doesn't count in this case. It's an outlier. It's not as horrendous as some people might make it out to be.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. You got to it takes time. 82 games is a long season, and you won't really get a good feel for anything. The statistic everybody in hockey media uses is American Thanksgiving. That's usually your mark where you start to understand who's actually good and who's not. The Flames so far look pretty good. I mean, aside from that game against Buffalo last week, which was kind of weird and out of character, they looked slow. They took a lot of bad penalties. They kind of got worked in transition, which doesn't usually happen. Other than that, I mean, they handled Pittsburgh pretty well. They haven't played since Tuesday. That's really the only concern I would have just in terms of looking at this game at a drop down 10,000 foot view is you haven't played in 4 days. Oilers played Thursday night. They played a very weird game against the Blackhawks that came down to the last 20 seconds. The final score was 6-5. There wasn't a lot of defense played in either direction. It was a very ugly game, and the Oilers won because they have more talent. They just found a way in that last couple minutes to win that game. Otherwise, that was going to go to OT against one of the least talented teams in the league. It sets up nicely. This is a very fun game to watch, and we're going to talk a little more in depth about what the Flames need to do to be successful in this game.
Yes, and now's a perfect time to take a quick break and tell you about our friends at BetOnline. Now, I told you all you need to take the over when it comes to any Flames game pretty much, but especially a Battle of Alberta. Again, this is not real advice. I am not an avid sports bettor, but if you want to become one, BetOnline is the perfect spot for you. BetOnline.net is the #1 source for sports betting, and it's a perfect way to get into the new basketball season. We got the World Series starting tonight, so let's, go Philly. Anyone but
Ethically, as a Met fan, I'm not allowed to root for the Phillies, but the Astros are also an unethical team, so I don't know what to do in terms of principles and ethics in the World Series. I'm rooting for fun. I guess I would like 7 good games. That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, you know what? If we could do like fun per 60, some batting average, something like that, BetOnline probably has like a funometer that we could just, start looking at. But BetOnline will remain your continued source for all of your sports wagering info with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Nick, since you're new here, why don't you do us the honor of plugging your Twitter?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zararis, Nick Zararis. I don't know if you saw that tweet about that sociological report about what Twitter considers people who are heavy Twitter users. And it was like they log on like 3 times a week and tweet 4 times a week. I don't know what the I don't know. I've been trying to come up with the perfect comparison for what Twitter is, and I was talking about it the other day at the Ranger Islander game with my friend who I went to the game with, and we settled on it's the Hotel California. Nobody ever leaves. Everybody keeps complaining, but we're all still here.
Yeah, yep, that sounds about right. I remember, like, when I started using Twitter, I would live tweet not necessarily games, but award shows.
Yeah.
And my friends would be like, you tweet too much. Well,
I got all these thoughts.
Enough.
They got to go somewhere. You don't have thoughts going on? Like, you're not just constantly stream of consciousness?
Someone's got to hear it, so might as well be the internet.
Exactly.
Speaking of things we need to hear, keys to the game. What are you looking for in terms of things that will go in Calgary's favor, or what do they need to do in order to win?
For the Flames, it comes down to a few things. Number one, you have home ice. Whenever you have a stoppage in play and you can get your preferred matchup because you have last change, you're going to be mindful of when 97 and 29 are on the ice. They've deployed them separately so far to start the year. Last year, the Flames had pretty good success in the regular season against McDavid using the Rasmus Anderson, Noah Hannafin pair. I wrote it down there, something like close to 55% plus in all the major statistics of Corsi, expected goals, and high danger chances. So ideally, you hard match up those two against McDavid when McDavid's on the ice with they've been running him with the Vander Kane and Kyler Yamamoto. And then other than that, you're going to have to get the one flaw in the way the Flames play a pretty high defensive line to mitigate that, to try and force the other team to dump the puck in from further away. So they have to go further to get it. And the Flames are a little bit slow. They're not getting back there to win those foot races. It was a problem for them in the playoffs, especially where the Oilers turned every game into a track meet. So for this game, you got to make the Oilers work for that 200 feet of ice. You got to make them dump the puck in and go get it, as opposed to getting that clean zone entry, because you let McDavid gain the zone with speed. You let Draisaitl gain the zone with speed. Everything flows off of them. When they have the puck on their stick, it kind of functions like a basketball offense where they hold the puck and everyone around them is moving, trying to get into a space to receive the puck, as opposed to more of a conventional cycle you would see other teams run. And the other thing is the cross-seam stuff, the lateral passes across the width of the ice. Draisaitl is one of the best passers in the entire league. He had a really nice assist in the game on Thursday against the Blackhawks that was off his backhand across basically the width of the ice that I don't know how got through traffic, but you got to control the tempo of the game and you got to try and make the Oilers work for their offense. You can see it is feasible to make the Oilers work for their offense. It starts in their own zone. You have to forecheck them aggressively. We know the Flames have a pretty strong forecheck. That Mangiapane, Kadri, and Dubé line has been really strong at that to start the year. I know last week when they were really the only line in the game against Buffalo that played particularly well, that was really making Buffalo work for their zone exits. And the Oilers defense, their defensemen, they're okay puck movers. I mean, Tyson Berry's pretty good. Darnell Nurse is a pretty good puck mover, but you can pressure them into mistakes. The Oilers defense is not great. Their goaltending hasn't been that good to start the year. The Flames are going to need to be aggressive on the forecheck. Don't let them get clean zone exits. Don't let them. And they got to slow this game down. The Flames, if they're going to win this game, need to slow the game down and play at a pace that suits the way they want to play, not the way the Oilers want to play, which is like they're all driving race cars on the ice.
Yeah, and the Flames are definitely familiar. Actually, not this roster so much, but they're no strangers to dump and chase. They know how to play. They can figure it out. There was once a point again in that fake 56 game season where every time they were, going into the zone, it wasn't a strategic style of play. It was, okay, it's like
outwork them.
Yeah. And, I think against a team, like you said, like the Oilers, you have to make them work for it, and you want to almost tire them out in that.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I think that the best thing, like Rasmus Andersson has been playing fantastic this season, and not only defensively but offensively as well. I was just reading an article yesterday or the day before about how he is pretty much hanging out with Adam Fox and Cale Makar in terms of stats. And as a Rangers fan, that's, how
that's nothing to sneeze at. That's impressive.
Yeah. And, especially Cale Makar, too, obviously in the Western Conference, it's still, that's a great name to be in a list with. And I think that he has taken that step forward in his game. And I think that Hanifin has as well, but I don't think it is the same caliber of the step. And that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and say Noah Hanifin is a horrible defenseman or dog on him. Like, yeah, does he make stupid mistakes sometimes? Sure. But you know what? So did some of the greatest players alive. So whatever.
Wayne Gretzky couldn't even lift the puck. Don't worry about it.
Right. Like, there's worse things being done on the ice than Noah Hanifin, overpassing or whatever. But we talked about stupid penalties earlier, and that I feel like that is one thing that Rasmus Andersson is just notorious for. And, Trevor Lewis during the Battle of Alberta playoff series was horrendous. I wanted to staple him to the bench and say, get comfy because you're not moving. But Rasmus Andersson, just something about him, it's just, I don't want to say undisciplined because I feel like that's too harsh. But I do think there are times where he slips into this pest mode.
You get into bad habits. Get into bad habits. I that jumped out at me in the game against Buffalo last week. I remember in my notes writing down more than once that he was reaching instead of skating, which is always how you end up taking those penalties. You never want, if you can make the play with your feet as opposed to your stick, that's usually you're less likely to take a penalty. If you're reaching, you're leaning forward, you're either vulnerable to take a penalty or it's easier for the puck handler to go around you if you're leading, because if you're leaning, you're not on your edges. You can't back skate if you're leaning forward. It's just, there's a lot of little things that go into that. And in terms of the penalties, that'll kill you against Edmonton because you give them the man advantage and they have 97 and 29 out there wheeling the puck around like it's on a string. And there's nothing you can do. You can have a great goalie like Markstrom and not going to be able to do anything if you're giving them a lot of 5-on-4 opportunities. They're that good. They were number 1 in the league on the power play last year.
Oh my God, just thinking about this team giving them the man advantage makes me just nauseous and ready to end this recording. But have we seen who is starting in net for the Oilers yet?
Don't think so.
I didn't think so either.
That's one of the things coaches like to pretend is a real advantage, even though it's one of the reasons I'm waiting for the NHL to crack down on this, because like, you know how the NFL has like the injury report during the course of the week where you have to disclose ahead of time. They do that for gambling, and the NHL has all of these partnerships with like FanDuel and DraftKings and these sports gambling companies. At some point, somebody at FanDuel is going to be like, all right, I need Gerard Gallant to just tell me who's playing goalie ahead of the game so we can give a fair line. And it will come eventually, I imagine, but it's just posturing. It's silly. Just tell us who's playing, man.
Right. And, Jack Campbell had a horrible start to his first experience in the Battle of Alberta. It was a nice warm welcome from the Flames, but Skinner has had some really solid starts as well. So it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily you're not going to sit here and go, oh, Mike Smith is starting, so we know how this is going to go. But you're going to be facing a pretty good goaltender, I would say, regardless. But and your note here, let's help out Markstrom.
Yes, respect your goalie.
Team needs it.
I do. Yeah, no, I have him and Fleury on the same team on my one team, so not great in the goaltending department. I have McDavid on that team though, so it's not as bad. Yeah.
I have McDavid on like my competitive league.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, if you score, just let it not be against the Flames, I guess.
You're rooting for an 8-7 Flames win with 7 McDavid goals. That's what you're rooting for.
Yeah, exactly. Like, give us like a double hat trick, something fun. Like, give us just something very exciting to work with here. Again, so I don't go down in flames, because this week has been absolutely brutal for my fantasy team. But coming up next, we are going to talk about our winners and losers of the week, because it's Friday and we're going to have fun. But first, I'm going to tell you about our friends at SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is a great personal home security monitoring system with 24/7 professional monitoring. SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment there is a threat detected and dispatch police or first responders if there's an emergency. SimpliSafe blankets your in-home protection with advanced sensors in every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, and it's the smarter way to detect motion that only alert you when there's a threat. A valid threat, not just a squirrel running across your backyard. But customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. That is simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. And there's no safe like SimpliSafe. No one's safe in the NHL.
No, I don't know if you saw David Krejci got hurt last night.
Yeah.
That was such like a weird, innocuous, like that didn't look like anything play, and he's gonna be out, I think.
Yeah, I saw that he's out tonight. Yeah. Which, I mean, it's fine. He's older. There's second half of a back-to-back. Like, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of the Bruins.
Yes.
I know people hate every time I bring up the Bruins on this podcast, but I've just done it more to spite the mean comments. You have a decent winner for the week here.
Yeah, Brad Marchand came back from double hip surgery a month ahead of schedule and scored 2 goals in the first game he played, and the Bruins kind of look like the best team in the league at the moment. So Brad Marchand, definitely a winner of the week, defying all of science. They were like, "Brad, they said you weren't gonna be back till November." I said, "No, I'm not. I'll be back sooner." Okay.
I
Double hip surgery, like people get double hip surgery and have to learn how to walk again.
Right. Like I had a boss who had just a hip replacement and she was out of work for 2 weeks. Usually it's a month. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like I was bored. I was ready to come back." And I was like, "Okay, I would have taken 4 weeks." That's
Overachiever.
right. And I think Brad Marchand is just a perfect example of that. And he was ready to be back on the ice and cause problems and stir the pot. I think like the one upside, okay, besides like Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Beeger like becoming Flames, but Matthew Tkachuk moving to the East means that two of the league's biggest pests are in this not only the same conference,
Same
but the
division, yeah.
same division. And I love that. I think that Marchand will absolutely give him a little bit of a run for his money too and be like, you think you ran it over there, but I'm here. You don't get this. But yeah, the Bruins are rattled with like post-season or off-season surgeries too,
Yeah.
because Charlie McAvoy, I think
He's still at
Bergie
least
had surgery
yeah,
too.
Bergeron had wrist surgery. McAvoy, I think, had something in his back. Yeah, they were a mess after last season. They needed to get eliminated early in the playoffs so they could all get surgery and get the requisite time off to make another run because this is kind of like the greatest hits album tour for them. Where this is kind of it.
Yeah, this is very much it for them, and that's okay because when one door closes, another one will open, and well, we don't know when that will be. But do you have a loser of the week that you would like to name?
It's Tom Brady, obviously.
Yeah, it's Tom
He
Brady.
he lost on Thursday Night Football and got divorced in a 12-hour span. That's a rough 12 hours.
Yeah, like oh my god. How do you like your wife says it's me or football. Or not even just me, but our children or football. And you just decide to go back. And you're like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll unretire. It's fine." Like that stinks. Someone today was talking about who's gonna date who first. Pete Davidson with Giselle or Kim Kardashian with Tom Brady. And I was like,
Yeah, that
that's
was me. I tweeted that.
was that
Yeah.
you?
Yes, that was me. I tweeted that at like 10:30 this morning when I saw the TMZ headline that they had finalized their divorce today. So yeah, rough week for Tom Brady.
Yeah, especially like, I don't know how getting a divorce works, but obviously, like, there's obviously a lead up to the finalization. And um, imagine having to go play a game or like go to work and then wake up the next morning and it's just like, all right, we are, we're done.
We're done. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh God, he probably hurt like hell from playing in a football game last night. He woke up sore as all hell, and then had like 1,000 emails and like 20 missed calls from like his publicist, his agent, her
Right.
publicist, the lawyers. Just God,
Oh
that's a
yeah.
rough 12 hours. I would
That's
have turned my phone off, put that in a drawer somewhere, and just like sat outside. I would have been like
yeah.
Kendall Roy in Succession, laying on a pool floaty, face down. That's what
Oh,
I would have done if I was Tom
100%.
Brady today.
Yeah, you know what? I would have tweeted something like, "When's the next Victoria's Secret fashion show?" and shut my phone off and been like, whatever. But I think that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Nick, thank you for hanging out and coming on the show and being part of the larger behind the scenes greatness that goes on. So thank you for amping up, all of that. And, great way to wrap up the week with a new co-host and Battle of Alberta. Where can everyone find your work, find you on social media, and whatever else you'd like to plug today?
The Twitter handle is at Nick Zararis, Zararis. I need to update the link tree because I haven't updated that in quite a while. But yeah, you can find all my work on the link tree. That's on my That's the pin link on my Twitter. My written stuff, my podcast stuff, my video stuff. I do a lot of content. The content doesn't sleep. I don't sleep. Adding another thing to the mix, and it's fun. You get to do it with one of my friends, so it's very exciting.
Right. And I love it because it works out well with my non-podcast schedule. So I get to, today I came home from work after a disastrous day, but I was like, I get to go talk hockey for 35 minutes with one of my friends. This is
pretty fantastic. Good deal. I'm not gonna lie, pretty good deal.
And then I'll wrap up here, and then I'll go watch the Bruins play former Flame Jonathan Gaudreau. New dad, Johnny Gaudreau. I don't think I ever congratulated him on here, but hey, whatever, better late than never. So yeah, make sure you're following Nick, and make sure you're following the show's Twitter feed at LO_FlamesPod. And one day I'll revive the Instagram. Same
but
thing.
We'll have video clips now because I can Premiere, so I can clip videos, and we can use the Instagram for that.
See, look at that. We will get that thing up and running. And then, of course, make sure you're subscribed to Locked on Flames wherever you get your podcasts. Let's try to hit 200 subscribers on YouTube before the end of the year. That would be super neat. And yeah, thank you all for joining us this week. And of course, I'll have some weekend content coming out too, because I don't know, I can't wait until Monday to sit here and tell you how the game went. That's impossible for me, but I will let everybody get their weekend on, and I will leave you be. And thank you again, everyone, for tuning in to Locked on Flames.